My mom threw everything I owned into garbage bags and kicked me out in one day. My sister claimed I'd had an affair with her husband, someone I hadn't even talked to in years. Everyone believed her. Everyone abandoned me. My reputation was destroyed, my family cut me off, and nobody cared about my innocence. But then I discovered something. Jake had lied. And when I leaked the truth, his entire life exploded. What happened next absolutely destroyed them all. I'm 32, work in software development, and I've spent the last decade watching my family implode in slow motion. My sister married her high school sweetheart. Let's call him Jake, about 4 years ago. I went to the wedding, gave the obligatory speech, congratulated them both. Standard stuff. Then I basically forgot they existed because I was drowning in my own life. I'd just gotten out of a brutal divorce. Lost the house, the dog, almost lost my mind in the process. My therapist recommended I move back home temporarily while I figured out my next steps. My mom said yes without hesitation. Offered me the guest room, told me she was glad to have company. At 32, moving back home felt like a failure, but it was either that or live in my car. 6 months into staying there, everything was fine. Boring, actually. My mom cooked dinner, I go to work, come home, scroll through my phone. My sister would occasionally text my mom asking when I was moving out, which I saw because my mom was dramatic about everything and would read her texts out loud while cooking. Then one Tuesday, my mom's phone rang. It was my sister. I was in the kitchen making coffee when my mom answered, and I watched her face change. Not angry. Worse. Disappointed. The kind of disappointment that makes your stomach drop. I cannot believe this, my mom kept saying. I cannot believe you would do this. I wasn't sure who you referred to, but something in my chest tightened. My sister was apparently crying on the phone, saying things. My mom gestured for me to leave the room, but I was frozen, watching her face transform from confusion to something darker. After she hung up, my mom sat down at the kitchen table. Didn't look at me, just stared at her hands for what felt like forever. What happened? I asked. She looked up, and her eyes were filled with something I'd never seen from her before. Not anger, betrayal. Your sister's marriage is over, she said quietly. Jake had an affair, and apparently, she's been suspecting it might be with you. I laughed. Actually laughed, because it was so absurdly insane that it had to be a joke. That's ridiculous, I said. I haven't even talked to Jake in years. Not since the wedding. That's what I told her, my mom said. But she has evidence. Apparently, he's been sneaking around, telling her he was going to the gym, staying out late. And she found messages in his phone where he mentioned you by name. Messages saying what? I felt my voice get sharper. My mom flinched. She didn't give me details. She just said the evidence is clear and that she's hired a lawyer. She's devastated because her husband cheated, not because of anything I did, I said, standing up. We can clarify this right now. Call her back. I'll talk to her directly. My mom shook her head. She doesn't want to talk to you. She said she doesn't want to see you. Over the next hour, I tried calling my sister 5 times. She declined every call. I texted her asking for specific details about these supposed messages. No response. I asked my mom for her lawyer's number so we could address this legally, because this was insane. My mom refused to help. I think you should leave, she said finally, just until things calm down. Stay at a hotel for a few weeks. Give your sister space. I didn't do anything, I said. Why would I leave my own mother's house because of something I didn't do? My mom's jaw tightened. Because I can't have this hanging over our family. Your sister is suffering. Jake destroyed their marriage, and I won't have you here adding to her pain. Adding to her pain? I'm the victim here too. My reputation is being leave, my mom said. Not a request, a demand. I left that night, drove to a hotel, paid for a week with my credit card, and sat in a dark room trying to figure out how my life had spiraled into a Greek tragedy. My sister had accused me of something I didn't do. My mother had kicked me out without even attempting to verify the accusation. And Jake, apparently, had just destroyed his marriage while somehow implicating me in the process. The next morning, I called a lawyer. She explained that defamation cases were expensive and difficult to prove. I'd need documented evidence that my sister had publicly stated the accusation. So far, it seemed limited to family. She recommended I wait and see how things developed. But things didn't develop. They escalated. My mom texted me the following day. She'd spoken to my sister again, who'd apparently told her that I was trying to ruin her with legal threats, which I wasn't doing. I just called my lawyer. My mom said she felt like she was in the middle of a war and that I needed to take responsibility for my actions and apologize to my sister for something I didn't do. I spent 2 weeks in that hotel room, working remotely, answering emails, going through the motions of my life while my family disintegrated. My sister wasn't just telling my mom. She was apparently telling everyone. My cousin texted me asking if it was true. My uncle avoided me at a grocery store. My childhood best friend texted to say she couldn't be associated with that kind of behavior. None of them had asked me for my side. None of them wanted details. They just accepted my sister's narrative because, apparently, her pain was more real than my innocence. I finally managed to get 15 minutes on the phone with my sister. She picked up, probably because I called from an unknown number. "I have nothing to say to you," she said immediately. "Then listen," I replied. "You need to tell me specifically what evidence you think you have, because this is destroying my life, and I deserve to know what I'm supposedly guilty of." She was quiet for a second. I could hear her breathing. "Jake told me he'd been messaging with you," she said slowly. "He said he told you things. Things about us." "What things? And what does messaging with me have to do with him cheating on you?" "He clearly had some kind of emotional connection with you. He was obsessed with you. That's what I call an affair, emotional or otherwise." This was absurd. Your husband had an emotional connection with me based on what? He saw me once at a wedding? You're accusing me of something that didn't happen. I'm not accusing you. I'm stating what I know. He mentioned you multiple times, specifically about how you understood him and his struggles and how his wife, me, never did. I felt something shift. Did you actually read these messages, or did he just tell you about them? He deleted them before I could see them fully. There it was. My sister was basing an entire accusation on deleted messages from her husband that she hadn't even seen. So he admits to texting me, but claims he deleted the evidence before you could see proof of anything. And somehow that's my fault. Why would he delete them unless they were incriminating? Because he's a man who apparently lied to his wife repeatedly and is now scrambling to cover his tracks? Because he's using me as a convenient scapegoat, so his wife blames me instead of focusing on the actual problem? That he's a compulsive liar? My sister hung up. I sat in that hotel room and realized something dark. My sister wasn't interested in the truth. She needed someone to blame besides her husband. And I was convenient. Over the next week, the situation metastasized. My mom told me she was changing the locks on the guest room. She didn't want my belongings there anymore. She said people were talking, and she couldn't have the appearance of condoning my behavior. I needed to come get my stuff, or she'd donate it. I drove back to my mom's house on a Friday morning. She was waiting in the driveway with garbage bags. Actual garbage bags. My clothes, books, and personal items had been shoved into black plastic garbage bags like trash. "I can't have you here," she said. "I've lost standing in my community. People are saying things. People are saying things that aren't true," I said, standing there looking at my life in garbage bags. "Your sister is hurting. Your son is being falsely accused," I said. "And you're more concerned with what people are saying than with what's actually true." My mom flinched, then hardened. "You need to leave." I threw the bags in my car. Didn't argue. Didn't beg. Just loaded my destroyed life into a Honda Civic and drove away, knowing I was done with all of them. But I wasn't going to let it end like that. I went back to my lawyer. I explained everything. She said I had grounds for a cease and desist letter, but proving defamation would be difficult. I asked if there was anything I could do to get the truth out without spending money I didn't have on legal fees. She suggested I investigate. Talk to Jake. Get his account in writing. See if I could find actual evidence of what he'd been doing. It felt slimy, honestly, contacting the guy who destroyed my life. But I had nothing left to lose. I found Jake's Facebook, saw he'd updated his relationship status to single. I messaged him, told him I knew his wife had accused me of an affair, and I needed to clear my name. I asked if he'd be willing to clarify what actually happened. He agreed to meet at a coffee shop. Jake looked destroyed when I saw him. Sunken eyes, weight loss, the whole breakdown aesthetic. We sat in a corner booth, and I waited for him to explain himself. "I didn't have an affair with you," he said immediately. "That's not what this is about." "Then what is it about?" I asked. He rubbed his face. "I had an affair with someone from work, a woman named Amy. I felt terrible about it, but I couldn't seem to stop. When your sister started asking questions, I panicked. I told her the emotional connection was with you because you were someone from outside the situation, someone she couldn't directly confront. I thought if she believed it was you, she'd, I don't know, be less angry." "That makes no sense," I said. "No, it doesn't. I was desperate and stupid, and I destroyed your life to save my own reputation. I'm sorry. I wasn't sure whether to punch him or ask for more details. I chose the latter because I was a coward." "Did you tell my sister the truth yet?" "No. She's not taking my calls. And honestly, I'm terrified she'll think I'm just making this up to protect you." "You're going to call her. You're going to tell her the truth. And you're going to help me fix this." Jake agreed, but I could see the hesitation in his eyes. He was worried about the legal implications of admitting to an affair. He was worried about his wife's lawyer. He wasn't worried about me. He called his wife that afternoon while I was there, watching. He told her the truth, that he'd had an affair with Amy from work, that he'd lied about me being involved because he was ashamed and desperate, that I was innocent. My sister's response was practically audible through the phone speaker. Rage. Pure, unfiltered rage. Not at Jake for the affair, but at Jake for lying about me. "I can't even," she said before hanging up. But the damage was already done, and Jake knew it. He'd committed perjury if this went to court. He made a false accusation to cover up his own infidelity. And while that helped clear my name, it didn't undo the damage to my reputation or my relationship with my family. I told Jake to document everything in an email. Send it to me, to his lawyer, and to my sister's lawyer. He resisted, said it would hurt his case if his wife sued him for infidelity. I reminded him that he'd already hurt everyone involved, so he might as well do something right. He sent the email 3 days later. Detailed breakdown of his affair with Amy. Explicit admission that he'd lied about me. Copies of text messages with Amy. Timestamps. Everything. I got a copy forwarded to me. Then I did something I'm not entirely proud of, but also completely justified. I leaked it. I didn't leak it to the press or to social media. I leaked it to my sister's lawyer, my mom, my uncle, and my cousin. With a simple message, since you all believe the lie so easily, I thought you might want to know the truth." The fallout was immediate. My sister confronted my mom, told her she'd known I was innocent, but had kicked me out anyway. My mom defended herself by saying she was trying to protect the family. My sister said she destroyed the family by believing a lie without verification. My uncle texted me an apology. My cousin unfollowed my sister on social media. But the real destruction happened with Jake. Jake's affair, which had been a private matter between him and his wife, suddenly became public knowledge. His wife used the email in divorce proceedings. Her lawyer used it to establish that he was a liar and therefore couldn't be trusted regarding assets, custody, anything. He lost his house. He lost his job when the company found out he'd been having an affair with a coworker. Amy left him when she realized she was the reason his life imploded. And my sister? She used the email to paint herself as the victim of a manipulative husband and an unsupportive family. 3 months after the email leaked, I got a phone call from my mom. She was crying. She said she wanted me to come home, that she'd been wrong, that she was sorry. I told her I appreciated the apology, but that I wasn't ready to rebuild that relationship. She tried harder after that, called weekly, sent cards, attempted to explain her reasoning. She said she'd been scared of losing my sister. That fear had made her choose the wrong person, that she'd been a bad mother. I listened to all of it without responding emotionally. Because here's the thing about betrayal. Sometimes saying sorry doesn't fix it. Sometimes you lose someone's trust permanently. My sister also reached out. Her email arrived 9 months after everything fell apart. She said Jake's destruction wasn't her fault, but she acknowledged that she'd accused me without evidence and that she should have questioned her husband's narrative instead of accepting it blindly. She said she'd been in pain and had wanted to blame someone, and I was convenient. She asked if we could rebuild our relationship, if I could forgive her. I didn't respond for 2 weeks. Then I wrote back a single sentence. Forgiveness isn't about absolving you of responsibility. It's about me moving forward. I'm still figuring out what that looks like. I never heard from her again. What actually happened was that my sister got what she wanted, divorce status, but lost everything else. Jake had nothing left to give her. His parents stopped talking to him. His career tanked. And my sister, despite being legally right about the divorce, had to live with the knowledge that she destroyed an innocent person's reputation before verifying a single fact. Jake eventually moved to another state and started over. I heard through the grapevine that he'd cleaned up his life, found a new job, maybe went to therapy. But his early 30s were essentially erased by the consequences of his lies. My mom and I eventually developed a strained relationship built on careful boundaries and acknowledged disappointment. We see each other on holidays. We're cordial, but the trust never fully returned, and honestly, I don't think it should have. As for me, I moved into my own apartment, got promoted at work, started dating someone who actually listens when I talk instead of just waiting for their turn to speak. Build a life that didn't depend on my family's validation. The email I leaked? It still exists somewhere in various inboxes and forwarded chains. It's the reason my sister couldn't remarry that guy if she wanted to. His reputation was shattered beyond repair. It's the reason my mom felt the permanent sting of knowing she chose wrong. It's the reason my extended family now asks for my side of the story before accepting anyone else's narrative. Justice isn't always clean or kind. Sometimes it's just consequences finally catching up with people who deserve them. If you're dealing with a family member who destroyed your reputation without evidence, document everything, stay calm, and wait for the truth to emerge. Because the truth always does. So if you want stories about people getting absolutely demolished by their own lies, hit that subscribe button. Because honestly, watching entitled people face consequences is basically therapy, and it's free. Subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell, because we've got more stories where families destroy themselves and justice gets served ice cold.